You're often counting for sure, but you keep getting confused or adding up wrong and end up racking your brains and pulling out the damn calculator. Or you try to prove something, but the words keep getting mixed up, the arguments spinning in the back of your mind. They stop understanding you or laugh in your face because you don't get it. Your brain doesn't catch up. Friend, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities without even noticing them. Others are making money, building businesses, getting the girl of their dreams, and you're sitting in your comfort zone where everything is easy and stupid. I know what I'm talking about because I've been there, but today I'm going to tell you about a different way, the way of the perfect mind. Remember that. Let's get serious today about getting smarter. Today, being smart isn't about memorizing textbooks or clever quotes on social media. It's your main asset that affects everything: money, business, girls, even how easily you get out of difficult situations. Imagine you can earn more simply because you see opportunities where others don't. You can negotiate on your own terms because you understand how people's psychology works. You attract cool girls not because you have a lot of money, although that helps too, but because you're interesting. You can hold any conversation, you have ideas, you can joke around, and you don't dumb down at key moments. Now the question is, do you want to be the one who decides or the one who gets decided for? Intelligence is not innate, it's a skill, and if you're not consciously pumping it up, you're going to fall behind. The world is changing fast, and those who don't keep up are left with crumbs. I heard a very enlightening story from a friend. He used to have a small shop and could barely make ends meet. Everyone around him whined that the market is bad, but he instead began to study marketing and sales psychology, and in 6 months he already knew how to package goods so that people buy twice as often, what phrases in correspondence increase trust, how to sell more expensive just by changing the wording. The result? His revenue grew 5 times in 1 year, while his competitors sat there complaining about the recession, and I'm not making this up. My conclusion was, you can work for years, like everyone else, or you can turn on your head and get many times more. I remember earlier I often complained to my friends, why do I get girls who don't understand? But then I started to understand psychology, to learn how to communicate, and everything changed. I just understood how to read a girl's emotions and react so that she felt special, how to conduct a dialogue so that there were no awkward pauses, how to present yourself to arouse interest. 6 months later, I started dating a girl I could only dream about before because I became a different person, someone I wanted to be with, and I was pretty poor by today's standards, but I was having fun with the best girl. Bottom line, money and status are good, but if you're boring or can't communicate, even the coolest cars won't save you. After all, once my friend got into a complete mess, his partners threw him out, he was left with debts, it seemed. That's it, the end. But he did not whine, but sat down to analyze his mistakes, read books on negotiations, and looked for non-standard solutions. In a month, he outplayed those who threw him. He found weaknesses in their scheme and used it, agreed with new people on favorable terms, pulled himself out of the hole, and even came out in the plus, all because I used my head instead of my emotions. What's my point? If you're thinking, well, they did it and I didn't, that's an excuse. Intelligence is not genetics, it's habit. Do you know what happens if you don't pump your brain? You won't just stay where you are, you'll degenerate. You know how nature works. You either grow or you rot. You can't have it both ways. Business without brains is suicide. Most people start with no brains and end up in debt like this. A guy starts a business on emotion. He thinks, what's so complicated? Buy it, sell it. Doesn't learn marketing, so he buys goods that nobody takes, doesn't know how to negotiate and gets screwed by suppliers, jacking up prices, and does not understand people at all, so he hires lazy people who divorce him like a sucker. 6 months later, he drains the money and says, business is a scam, but the problem is not the business. The problem is in his head. Business is a mind sport. If you're not pumped, you'll be eaten by those who are smarter. Remember, degradation is not a myth. It's a law. You don't just stay dumb. You get dumber every year. The brain is like a muscle. You don't exercise it. It atrophies. You get used to simple solutions, social media, soap operas, fast food, primitive thoughts. In 5 years, you wake up a complete vegetable who can't make complex decisions, doesn't understand how money works, loses even what no one could lose. In this day and age, to go with the flow is to become a dead fish. There are 2 types of people. The first, those who struggle. They read, they analyze, they try, they make mistakes, but they grow. Others, those who swim. They think this will do, but they actually sink. Career. If you don't learn new things, you'll be pushed out by those who are smarter and hungrier. Money. If you don't know your finances, you'll be forever in debt or on the edge. Relationships. If you don't develop emotional intelligence, you'll suffer from misunderstandings. The choice is simple. Either you pump your brain and take control, or you degenerate and become a victim of circumstance. If you want to pump your brain, it's not enough to just read books. The mind is a system. Like sports, you can't get pumped up if you eat fast food, don't sleep, and don't train. Here are the key conditions without which even a genius will turn into a vegetable. First, environment. You are the average of the 5 people around you. The brain adapts to the people you socialize with. If your friends only talk about memes about all the funny things that happen to them during the day, your thinking is degraded. If you're around people who read, earn, argue, try, you're growing. When I started hanging around successful entrepreneurs, I became even more successful than I was. I understood how they think, how they solve problems, how they look for opportunities. A year later, my earnings tripled, even though I was just an ordinary working man. What do? Filter your environment. If a person doesn't give you growth, minimize contact. Look for people who are smarter, even if you don't understand half their conversations at first. Second, information diet. What you feed your brain becomes what it becomes. The brain is like a stomach. If you shove rubbish into it, it will get poisoned. What kills intelligence? Endless social media scrolling, short videos, memes, empty arguments, yellow news and toxic content, primitive shows, games without meaning. What gets you pumped? Books. Not necessarily abstruse. Even biographies of successful people change minds. Long articles, analytics in your areas of expertise, podcasts or lectures by smart people. I remember one of my students for a month unsubscribed from all memes and started listening to podcasts about business. 6 months later, he found a new niche simply because his brain started to see things that others didn't notice. Third, physiology. The brain doesn't work without fuel. You can read all you want, but if you don't get enough sleep, you get dumb. If you eat fast food, you slow down. If you don't move, you don't get enough blood flowing to your brain. What really works? 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Lack of sleep is immediately negative 10 or 100 IQ. Sports, at least walking, improves memory and thinking speed. Water and proper food. Nuts, fish, greens, fuel for neurons. An acquaintance of mine used to complain that he couldn't concentrate. He just started sleeping 7 hours and drinking water, and after a week he was thinking twice as fast. He didn't get smarter, but he did think better. Fourth, smart habits. A stupid habit is a stupid person. What smart people do every day? Morning hours for complex tasks. Brain is fresh. Write down ideas. If you don't fix, you forget. Analyze mistakes. Failure analysis. Chakras experience. Fifth, environment. Where you live and work shapes you. A mess in the room checked a mess in the head. Although Einstein would argue with you, working in a noisy place is an inability to think deeply. What to do? Organize your space. Clean desk, files in order. Find a quiet place to work. Library, separate office. Meditate or just switch off. Brain needs to rest. My friend, a programmer who stopped working in a cafe and created a quiet office, started writing code twice as fast. He also improved its quality. Sixth, learning. If you don't learn, you fall back. The world changes. Either you adapt or you will be pushed out. Read at least 1 book a month. Doesn't matter if it's paper or audio. Learn new skills. Listen to smart people. Ultimately, whether you're a frog at the bottom of a well or a falcon high in the sky is up to you. But I believe this video will make a good contribution to your life. I'll see you around.